The great chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Thousands of seats rose in circles around a central platform, and representatives from dozens of species filled those seats. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all. But today, every eye and sensor was focused on one small group standing at the center of the room. The humans. Ambassador. Park Ji-ho stood with his hands folded behind his back. He was an old man with gray hair and deep lines on his face. He had served humanity for 40 years in this chamber. He had negotiated treaties, solved disputes, and built friendships across the stars. Today, he stood accused. Beside him, Admiral Yoon Tae-sun waited in her formal uniform. She was 63 years old, and she had commanded Earth's diplomatic fleet for 15 years. Her face showed nothing. Her eyes were calm, but her hands were tight at her sides. High Speaker Melos floated above the central platform. He was ancient, even by galactic standards. His body was made of crystalline structures that shifted and changed color with his mood. Today, those crystals were a dull gray. "The Council will hear the final arguments," Melos announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Council of Vreth, you may speak." Vreth rose from his seat. He was Torvani, a species of tall, slender beings with pale blue skin and 4 arms. He walked to the speaking platform with confidence. His black eyes swept across the chamber before settling on the human delegation. "Distinguished members of the Council," Vreth began. "Today we vote on Resolution 7749. This resolution will remove humanity from our community. It will cancel their trading rights. It will erase their territorial claims. It will end their membership in this council forever." Whispers spread through the chamber. Vreth raised one hand for silence. "Some of you may think this is harsh. Some of you may call it unfair. But I ask you to look at the facts." Vreth activated a holographic display. Charts and numbers filled the air. In 200 years, humanity has spread to 47 worlds. Their population has grown from 8 billion to 32 billion. They expand faster than any species in recorded history. He turned to face the humans directly. "They are everywhere. Their ships fill our trade routes. Their workers fill our stations. Their doctors work in our hospitals. Their soldiers guard our borders. At first, we welcomed this. We thought they were helpful. But now we must ask ourselves a simple question." Vreth paused for effect. "What happens when they decide they want more?" The chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Vreth continued, his voice rising. "Humans are predators. They evolved on a death world, a planet so dangerous that most species could not survive there for a single day. They eat the flesh of other creatures. They wage war against each other for sport. They conquered their own world through violence and blood." He pointed at the human delegation. "These are not partners. These are not friends. These are threats waiting to strike. Every day they grow stronger. Every day they spread further. If we do not act now, we will wake up one morning to find ourselves surrounded. And by then, it will be too late." Vreth bowed and returned to his seat. The chamber was completely silent. High Speaker Melos turned his crystalline body toward the humans. "Ambassador Park, you may respond." Park Ji-ho walked slowly to the speaking platform. He looked around the chamber at the hundreds of faces watching him. Some showed fear. Some showed hatred. A few showed shame. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "Council of Vreth is correct about many things," Park said. His voice was quiet but clear. "Humans do expand quickly. We do have large populations. We did evolve on a dangerous world." He paused and smiled sadly. "But Council of Vreth has forgotten something important. He has forgotten why we are everywhere." Park touched the holographic controls. New images appeared. A human doctor treating sick alien children. Human engineers building water systems on a desert world. Human soldiers carrying wounded allies to safety. We are in your hospitals because you asked us to come. You called us when plagues struck your worlds, and we answered. We are in your stations because you needed workers who could adapt to any environment, any schedule, any task. We are guarding your borders because you asked us to protect you from the drift raiders when your own fleets were too weak. His voice grew stronger. In 200 years, humanity has never started a war with any council species. We have never stolen territory. We have never broken a treaty. We have only given. We have given our knowledge, our labor, our blood, and our lives. Park looked directly at Vreth. You ask what happens when we want more. I will tell you. We wanted partnership. We wanted friendship. We wanted to build something together. That is all we have ever wanted. He turned back to the council. But if you vote today to cast us out, we will accept your decision. We will not fight. We will not threaten. We will simply leave. And we will remember that when humanity offered its hand in friendship, the galaxy chose fear instead. Park bowed and returned to his place beside Admiral Yoon. High Speaker Melos addressed the chamber. The vote will now proceed. All in favor of Resolution 7749, removing humanity from the Galactic Council? Lights began to glow across the chamber as species registered their votes. Blue for yes. Red for no. Yellow for abstain. Admiral Yoon counted the lights. Blue, blue, more blue. A few yellow spots among the sea of blue. Not a single red. The final count appeared on the main display. 12 votes in favor. 3 abstentions. 0 against. Resolution 7749 passes, Melos announced. His crystals had turned almost black. Humanity is hereby removed from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. Cheers erupted from Vreth's section of the chamber. Other species joined in, celebrating their victory over the human threat. The noise filled the great room like thunder. Admiral Yoon looked at Ambassador Park. Their eyes met. No words were needed. They had prepared for this possibility. They had hoped it would not come, but they were ready. Park Jiho straightened his jacket and walked back to the speaking platform. He waited for the celebration to quiet. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. The human delegation thanks the council for its decision. We accept the vote without protest. We will begin our withdrawal from galactic space immediately. He paused and looked around the chamber one last time. His eyes were sad but not angry. We will remember your decision. We hope you will remember ours. Park bowed deeply. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. Admiral Yoon followed. The rest of the human delegation fell in line behind them. No one shouted. No one cried. No one made threats or demanded justice. The humans simply walked away in perfect silence. As the doors closed behind them, Vreth laughed and raised his arms in triumph. The threat is ended, he declared. The galaxy is safe. The chamber erupted in celebration once more, but High Speaker Melos did not join the cheering. His ancient crystals flickered with colors no one had seen before. He watched the door where the humans had disappeared, and a cold feeling spread through his crystalline form. He had lived for 3,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched species make terrible mistakes, and something told him that today, the Council had made the worst mistake in galactic history. Far below the Council chamber, Admiral Yoon and Ambassador Park walked through the corridors of Station Nexus Prime. Human workers stopped to watch them pass. They saw the look in their leader's eyes, and they understood. Without a word, they began to pack their belongings. The great withdrawal had begun. The cargo ship Dawn's Promise drifted in orbit above Talax 4. Captain Beek Su Min stood on the bridge, watching the planet below. It was a dying world. Brown clouds covered most of the surface. Rivers had turned to dust. Crops had failed for 3 seasons in a row. 12 million Pelori lived down there. They were small, gentle creatures with soft fur and large eyes. They had no military. They had no weapons. They had only hope, and even that was running out. "Captain," her first officer said, "the last transport is loaded. We have delivered everything. Food, medicine, water purifiers, seed stock. It is all on the surface." Su Min nodded. "Good. What about payment?" "The Pelori administrator is asking to speak with you. He wants to discuss the contract." Su Min looked at the planet one more time. She thought about the children down there. She thought about the families waiting for food that might save their lives. "Tell him there is no contract," she said quietly. "Tell him the supplies are a gift. Then set course for Earth space." Her crew exchanged surprised looks, but no one questioned the order. They had all heard about the council vote. They all knew what it meant. The Dawn's Promise turned away from Telex 4 and jumped to faster-than-light speed. It was the last human ship to visit that sector. The Pelori administrator stood in his office, staring at the message on his screen. Free supplies. No payment required. He did not understand. The humans had always been fair traders, but they had never given anything away. He tried to send a thank you message to the ship, but it was already gone. All he found was empty space where humans used to be. On Research Station Omega, Dr. Han Yunbai was working late in her laboratory. She had spent 6 years studying the Tovani blood plague, a disease that killed thousands every year. She was close to a cure. Another few months of work, and she would have it. Her partner, a Tovani scientist named Kellogg's, rushed into the lab. His pale blue face was full of worry. "Yunbai, I heard the news. The council vote. Is it true?" She did not look up from her work. "It is true, but you cannot leave. The research. The cure. You are the only one who understands the human immune response. Without you, we cannot finish." Yunbai finally stopped working. She turned to face Kellogg's. They had worked together for years. He was her colleague and her friend, but she could see the truth in his eyes. He was Torvani. His species had voted to expel humanity. "I am transferring all my files to your system," she said. "Everything I know. All my notes. All my research. You will have to finish without me. Please." Kellogg stepped closer. "Stay. I will speak to the council. I will tell them you are important." "Important?" Yunbai smiled, but there was no happiness in it. "Yesterday, I was important. Today, I am a threat. Tomorrow, I will be forgotten. That is how your council works." She picked up her bag and walked toward the door. Kellogg's followed her. "This is not right. You have given everything to this station. To us. To the galaxy." Yunbai stopped at the door. She looked back at her laboratory one last time. 6 years of her life were in this room. 6 years of hope for millions of sick people. Finish the cure, Kellogg's. Do it for the people who are dying. Do not do it for the council. Do not do it for politics. Do it because it is right. She walked out without looking back. Kellogg stood alone in the empty laboratory, surrounded by machines he did not fully understand. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human workers resigned from their jobs. Human businesses closed their doors. Human ships disappeared from trade routes and patrol zones. On Trade Station Nexus, Station Master Polax watched his operation fall apart. He was a Ven, a species of large, multi-eyed beings known for their skill in commerce. He had managed this station for 20 years. It was the busiest trade hub in 3 sectors, or it had been. "Report," he demanded, his 6 eyes scanning multiple screens at once. His assistant, a young man named Thoris, looked nervous. Efficiency is down 42%, Station Master. Human logistics specialists have all departed. Human dock workers are gone. Human maintenance crews have left. Replace them. We are trying, Station Master. But no one else can work the schedules humans worked. No one else can handle the cargo loads humans handled. No one else wants to do the jobs humans did. Pelax slammed his tentacle on the desk. They are just humans. They are not special. Anyone can do what they did. Thor said nothing. He did not need to. The numbers on the screens told the truth. Ships were waiting in orbit because no one could unload them fast enough. Cargo was rotting in storage because no one knew the organization system humans had created. Customers were complaining because deliveries were late, and it had only been 1 week. On the border world of Ketha Prime, Lieutenant Cho Dong-woo supervised the evacuation of a human mining colony. 3,000 workers and their families were loading onto transport ships. They moved quickly and quietly. No one complained. No one cried. A young girl tugged on Dong-woo's sleeve. She was maybe 7 years old, with dark hair and serious eyes. Lieutenant, why are we leaving? I like it here. My friends are here. Dong-woo knelt down to her level. Sometimes we have to leave places we love. Sometimes people decide they do not want us around anymore. Did we do something wrong? Dong-woo thought about that question. Had humanity done something wrong? They had worked hard. They had helped everyone who asked. They had never hurt anyone. No, he said finally. We did not do anything wrong. But sometimes people are afraid of things they do not understand. And when they are afraid, they push those things away. The girl thought about this. That is stupid. Dong-woo almost smiled. Yes, it is. Now go find your parents. The ship is leaving soon. He watched her run off to join her family. Then he turned back to his work. There was still so much to do. Back on Station Nexus Prime, Council of Wrath was giving an interview to the Galactic News Service. His face was full of pride and confidence. The transition is going smoothly, he declared. Yes, there are some minor disruptions, but these are temporary. The galaxy survived for millions of years before humans arrived. It will survive without them. Some reports suggest that human withdrawal is causing serious problems in multiple sectors, the reporter said. Food shortages, medical crises, security concerns. Do you have a response? Wrath waved his 4 hands dismissively. Exaggerations. Human propaganda. They want us to feel sorry for them. They want us to beg them to come back. But the Galactic Council will not be manipulated by emotional tricks. He leaned toward the camera. Let me be clear. Humanity was a parasite feeding on our civilization. We have removed the parasite. Now we will heal. In 6 months, no one will even remember what humans look like. The interview ended. Wrath smiled at his staff. Everything was going according to plan. Elsewhere on the station, a small mirror merchant sat in his shop, watching the interview on his screen. His name was Tasani, and he was old even by mere standards. His species had abstained from the vote. They had tried to warn the council. No one had listened. Tasani turned off the screen and looked out his window. Human families walked past, carrying their belongings. They were leaving his section of the station. Soon his shop would have no customers left. He had lived long enough to see many mistakes. He had seen wars started over lies. He had seen empires fall from arrogance. He had seen good people destroyed by fear, but he had never seen anything like this. The council had not just voted to remove humanity. They had voted to remove the heart of the galactic community. And they had no idea what they had done. Tasani closed his shop early and went to pray. He prayed for the humans who were leaving. He prayed for the galaxy that had driven them away. And he prayed for mercy because he knew what was coming. The quiet withdrawal continued. Day after day, humans disappeared. They did not fight. They did not argue. They simply packed their things and went home. And the galaxy, still celebrating its victory, did not notice the silence growing around it. 3 months had passed since the vote. The celebrations were over. The speeches had stopped. And the galaxy was beginning to scream. On Torvax Prime, the capital world of the Torvani hegemony, hospitals were overflowing. The blood plague had returned with terrible strength. Without Dr. Han Yun-bai and her research, the medical teams were helpless. They had her notes, her files, her data. But they did not have her mind. They did not have her instinct. They did not have her years of experience. Administrator Kel Soren stood in the emergency response center, watching the death count rise. He was a mid-level bureaucrat, responsible for 3 colony worlds in the outer sectors. Those worlds were now starving. "Report," he said, his voice tired and flat. His assistant pulled up the numbers. Talax 7 has exhausted its food reserves. Population facing critical shortage within 2 weeks. Malox 4 reports complete crop failure. The hybrid seeds humans developed are dead. No one knows how to maintain them. Vara Station reports water purification systems offline. Human engineers designed those systems. No one else can fix them. Soren closed his eyes. What about the emergency relief requests? Denied. The central government says resources must go to core worlds first. Outer colonies are low priority. Low priority. Soren laughed bitterly. 12 million people are low priority. He thought about the human agricultural specialists who used to visit his colonies. They had taught local farmers how to grow food in difficult soil. They had modified crops to survive harsh conditions. They had worked for years to make those worlds self-sufficient, and then they had left. Not because they wanted to, because the Council told them to go. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Yeth of the Valori Confederation was fighting for his life. His patrol fleet had been ambushed by drift raiders, the pirate coalition that terrorized the outer trade routes. 3 of his 5 ships were destroyed. The remaining 2 were badly damaged. "Send distress signal on all frequencies," Yeth ordered. His bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. Half his crew was dead. "Signal sent, Commander." No response. Yeth slammed his fist against his command chair. For 50 years, human patrol ships had guarded these routes. They had kept the raiders under control. They had answered every distress call within minutes. Now those ships were gone. The raiders knew it. They had grown bold. They had grown hungry. "Try the old human defense frequency," Yeth said desperately. Maybe someone is still listening. His communications officer tried. Static filled the speakers. Then, slowly, a recorded message began to play. "This is Human Defense Network Automated Response. All human military assets have withdrawn from this sector. For emergency assistance, please contact your local Galactic Council representative." End message. The message repeated. Then it ended. Silence filled the bridge. Yeth watched through his damaged view screen as more raider ships approached. He had sent messages to the Council weeks ago, begging for protection. They had promised to send help. That help had never come. His last thought before the raiders boarded his ship was a simple one. The humans would have come. The humans always came. On Station Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency sessions were held every day. Reports of disaster flooded in from every sector. And Councilor Vreth, once the hero of the anti-human movement, was now the most hated being in the galaxy. "The Pelori are dying," shouted a representative from the outer sectors. "They have no food. They have no medicine. They have nothing because you drove away the only people who were helping them. The trade routes are lawless, yelled another counselor. My people are being robbed and murdered every day. Where are the patrol ships you promised? My world is sick, screamed a third. The plague is spreading. Our doctors cannot stop it. We need human researchers. We need them now. Vreth stood at the center of the storm, his four hands raised in defense. These problems are temporary. We simply need time to adjust. The council must stay strong. Stay strong? Eye Speaker Melos floated forward, his crystals burning with angry red light. Millions are dying, Counselor. Entire worlds are collapsing. Trade has dropped 60%. Crime has increased 400%. And you speak of staying strong? Vreth's confidence cracked. I did not know. I could not have predicted. You could not predict that removing the species who ran our hospitals, our farms, our security forces, and our trade networks would cause problems. Melas's voice was sharp as broken glass. A child could have predicted this. The only thing you could not predict was your own stupidity. The chamber erupted in angry shouts. Some called for Vreth's removal. Others called for his arrest. A few called for Worstad in the chaos. Elder Tazani of the Mir Collective rose from his seat. He was small and old, but when he spoke, his voice carried across the entire chamber. The hour is late for blame, he said. The hour is late for anger. What matters now is survival. What matters now is truth. The chamber slowly quieted. Tazani walked to the speaking platform. I warned this council 3 months ago. I told you that humans were not conquerors. I told you they were caretakers. You did not listen. He looked around at the frightened faces. Now you must listen, because I will tell you what the humans truly were. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Humans were the ones who did the jobs no one else wanted. They cleaned our stations. They grew our food. They healed our sick. They protected our children. They asked for nothing except partnership. And we called them threats. Tazani pointed at the empty seats where the human delegation once sat. Look at those chairs, empty. The humans are gone. They are not coming back. And everything they built, everything they maintained, everything they held together is falling apart. Then what do? Someone called out. Tazani shook his head slowly. I do not know if anything can be done, but I know what we must try. We must go to the humans. We must admit our mistake. We must ask for their help. They will never help us, Vreth said weakly. After what we did. Perhaps not, Tazani agreed. Perhaps they will watch us suffer and feel satisfaction. That would be justice. He turned back to the council. But I do not think that is who humans are. I think they are better than us. I think they will help if we ask with true humility. And if they refuse? Tazani's old eyes were full of sadness. Then we will learn to live with the consequences of our fear. Or we will not live at all. The council voted that night to send a message to humanity's borders. It was a simple message, carefully written. It expressed regret. It asked for dialogue. It promised to reconsider the expulsion. The message was sent across all channels. It reached every human communication relay on the border. The response came 12 hours later. It was equally simple. Message received. Request denied. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for its communication. We have nothing further to discuss. The Council read the message in silence. Some wept. Some raged. Some simply stared at the words, trying to understand. Vreth collapsed into his chair, his body shaking. What have I done? He whispered. What have I done? No one answered him. No one needed to. The answer was everywhere. It was in the empty docks. It was in the failing hospitals. It was in the burning trade routes. It was in the silence from the stars. a Tovani scout ship discovered the first human border marker a week later. It was a small automated station floating alone in space. When the scout approached, a message began to play. Attention! You have reached the border of human-controlled space. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for clarifying our place in the galaxy. We wish you well. Do not cross this boundary. This message will repeat. The scout captain recorded the message and sent it to the council. Then he turned his ship around and flew back toward a galaxy that was slowly dying. Behind him, the human border stretched across the stars like a wall of silence. On the other side, humanity waited. They did not attack. They did not threaten. They did not gloat. They simply existed, separate and alone, watching as the galaxy learned the true cost of fear. 6 months after the vote, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Chamber was nearly empty. Many species had recalled their representatives to deal with crises at home. The seats that remained occupied were filled with tired, frightened beings. High Speaker Melos floated above the central platform. His crystalline body had changed. The colors were darker now, slower to shift. He looked ancient in a way he had not looked before. The council will hear the emergency report, he announced. A young Torvani official stepped forward. She was one of the few who still worked in the central administration. Most others had fled or been reassigned to disaster zones. The situation is critical across all sectors, she began, her voice trembling slightly. 12 major worlds face severe famine. 23 have reported plague outbreaks. Pirate attacks have increased by 400%. Trade volume has dropped to 30% of normal levels. She paused to collect herself. Estimated deaths in the past 6 months, 47 million. The number hung in the air like poison. Continue, Melos said quietly. Infrastructure collapse is accelerating. Power systems designed by human engineers are failing. Medical equipment developed by human researchers is breaking down. Agricultural programs created by human scientists are producing nothing. She looked up from her report. We have tried to replace human workers with our own people. We have failed. Humans worked longer hours than any other species. They adapted to conditions that would kill most of us. They solved problems no one else could solve. We do not have enough skilled workers to replace them. We do not have enough willing workers to try. Melos nodded slowly. Thank you. You may step down. The young official retreated to her seat. The chamber was silent. There is only one path forward, Melos said. We must send a delegation to the human border. We must ask them to return. No one argued. No one protested. The time for pride was over. Ambassador Rin will lead the mission, Melos continued. He is young, but he is skilled. He will represent us honestly. He paused. Counselor Vreth will accompany him. Vreth looked up in shock. He had been sitting in the back of the chamber, trying to be invisible. His face was pale. His body was thin. He had not slept properly in months. I cannot, he whispered. They will not listen to me. They hate me. That is exactly why you must go, Melos replied. You were the face of their expulsion. Now you must be the face of our apology. It is the least you can do. Vreth wanted to refuse, but he looked around the chamber and saw the faces of beings who had lost loved ones because of his vote. He saw the hatred in their eyes, and he knew that if he refused, they would tear him apart. I will go, he said quietly. The diplomatic ship departed 2 days later. Ambassador Rin, a young Torvani with idealistic eyes, commanded the mission. Vreth sat in his cabin, staring at the wall. They reached the human border after a week of travel. A small station floated in space, marking the edge of human territory. Behind it, nothing but silence. Human border control, This is Galactic Council diplomatic vessel requesting permission to enter. Rin transmitted. The response came quickly. A human voice, female, calm and professional. Council vessel, you do not have permission to enter human space. State your purpose. We come to negotiate. We carry a formal request from the Galactic Council. We ask for a meeting with human leadership. There was a long pause. Then, hold position. Your request is being transmitted to command. Do not attempt to cross the border. They waited. Hours passed. Rin paced the bridge. Vreth sat motionless, lost in his guilt. Finally, the human voice returned. Council vessel, your request has been received. You will be met at coordinates being transmitted now. One ship only. No weapons. Understood. Thank you. Do not thank us yet, the voice said. Then the channel closed. They proceeded to the coordinates and found a human cruiser waiting for them. It was not a warship, but it was impressive. Clean lines. Powerful engines. Advanced technology. A reminder that humanity had not been idle during their isolation. Admiral Yoon Tae-sun met them in a small conference room. She looked exactly as she had 6 months ago. Calm, patient, unreadable. She was accompanied by a younger woman with sharp eyes and perfect posture. I am Secretary Kwon. Hi, Jin, the younger woman said. I speak for Earth's government. Admiral Yoon is here as witness. Rin bowed respectfully. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. The Galactic Council has sent us to... We know why you are here. Hyjin interrupted. You want us to come back. You want us to fix your problems. You want us to save you from the consequences of your decision. Rin hesitated. Secretary, we come with humility. We recognize our mistake. The Council votes to expel humanity was wrong. We are prepared to offer full restoration of membership, trading rights, territorial claims, and no. The word was simple. Final. Absolute. Rin blinked. I do not understand. Hyjin folded her hands on the table. Let me be clear. The Galactic Council voted to remove humanity from galactic society. We accepted that vote. We left peacefully. We asked for nothing. We threatened nothing. We simply went home. She leaned forward slightly. Now you come to us 6 months later because your galaxy is falling apart. Because you realize too late what we were worth. Because you need us to clean up the mess you created. Yes, Rin admitted. That is exactly what we need. Then you do not understand us at all. Hyjin's voice was not angry. It was not cold. It was simply matter of fact. We did not leave because we were forced to. We left because we were told we were not wanted. We accepted your decision because we respect your right to make that decision. But millions are dying. That is your responsibility now. You chose to govern the galaxy without us. You must deal with the consequences of that choice. Vreth suddenly stood up. His body was shaking. Tears ran down his pale blue face. Please, he said, his voice breaking. Please, I know this is my fault. I know I am responsible for this. I was afraid. I was stupid. I believed humans were threats when you were only trying to help. He fell to his knees. I will accept any punishment. I will spend my life in shame. But please, do not let my people die because of my mistake. Admiral Yoon watched him without expression. Secretary Kwon studied him for a long moment. Your guilt does not change anything, Hyjin said finally. We do not want punishment. We do not want revenge. We simply want what we have always wanted. To be left alone to live in peace. She stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. The council voted. We accepted. This is not cruelty. This is respect for your choice. Go home, Ambassador. Tell the Council that humanity will not return. Tell them that we bear no anger. Tell them that we hope they find their own way forward." Rin opened his mouth to argue, but Admiral Yoon spoke first. "One more thing," she said quietly. "I served the Galactic Council for 15 years. I believed we were partners. I believed we were building something together." Her calm finally cracked, just a little. When the vote came, not one species stood with us. Not one voice spoke in our defense. Remember that when you ask why we will not help you now. The meeting ended. The Council delegation returned to their ship. They flew back across the border in silence. Rim prepared his report for the Council. It was short and honest. Humanity was not coming back. There would be no rescue, no salvation, no second chance. When the Council received the report, some members wept. Some raged against the unfairness. Some blamed Vreth, who had collapsed into complete silence, but Elder Tasani simply nodded his old head. "This is what we earned," he said quietly. "This is what fear costs. Remember this day. Teach your children to remember. Because if we forget, we will make this mistake again." The Council chamber emptied slowly. Leaders returned to their dying worlds. Diplomats returned to their failing stations dot and across the border. Humanity continued to exist in silence, waiting, watching, building their own future without the galaxy that had rejected them. Some called it cruelty. Some called it justice. But the humans called it simply what it was, a choice. And every choice has consequences. 1 year had passed since the vote. The galaxy had changed. It was smaller now, quieter, scarred by wounds that would take generations to heal. The final death count was 93 million. 93 million lives lost to famine, plague, and violence. 93 million beings who would still be alive if the Council had made a different choice. Elder Tasani stood at the speaking platform in the Galactic Council chamber. He had been elected High Speaker 3 months ago, after Melos resigned in shame. Now he led a broken community trying to rebuild itself. 1 year ago, he began. This council made a decision based on fear. We looked at humanity and saw a threat. We saw their numbers. We saw their strength. We saw their potential. And we were afraid. He paused, looking around the chamber. Many seats were still empty. Some species had withdrawn from the council entirely. Others no longer had enough population to send representatives. We told ourselves stories about human aggression. We imagined invasions that never came. We predicted betrayals that never happened. We convinced ourselves that the safest path was to push them away before they could hurt us. Tasani's voice grew heavy. We were wrong. Humans did not want to conquer us. They did not want to control us. They only wanted what all living beings want: to belong, to contribute, to be valued for who they are. He lowered his head, and we responded to that simple desire by casting them out. We rejected their friendship. We dismissed their service. We called them threats and parasites and dangers to our existence. When he looked up again, his old eyes were wet. Now we know the truth. Humans were never our enemies. They were our partners. They were our healers. They were our protectors. They held our civilization together in ways we never understood, never appreciated, never acknowledged. He gestured at the damaged chamber around them. Look at what we have become without them. Look at the empty seats. Look at the reports of suffering that fill our daily briefings. Look at the fear in our children's eyes. This is what we built when we chose hatred over trust. The chamber was silent. No one had anything to add. I do not know if we can fix what we have broken, Tasani continued. I do not know if humans will ever forgive us. I do not know if the galaxy will survive the next 100 years. But I know one thing with absolute certainty. His voice hardened. We must never make this mistake again. We must teach our children the truth. We must write this story into our histories and our laws and our very souls. Fear destroys. Trust builds. And no species, no matter how strange or different or powerful they may seem, should be judged by anything except their actions. He stepped down from the platform. The council began its daily work. Reports, decisions, small steps toward recovery. On a distant world, former Councillor Vreth sat in a small room, writing. He had been exiled from Tovani society. His name had become a curse. Parents told their children his story as a warning, but he did not complain. He did not ask for mercy. He spent his days writing his memoir, a complete confession of his crimes against humanity. I was afraid, he wrote. That is my only explanation. I looked at humans and saw everything my species lacked. They were stronger than us, more adaptable than us, more numerous than us. I could not understand why they helped us when they could have conquered us. I could not believe that anyone could be kind without expecting something in return. He paused, his stylus hovering over the page. I was wrong. Humans helped because helping was who they were. They gave because giving made them happy. They protected others because protection was their nature. I saw all of this as a trick, a strategy, a weapon. I could not imagine that a species could be genuinely good. He continued writing until his hands cramped. Then he rested and wrote more. He wanted every word to be perfect. He wanted future generations to understand exactly how catastrophically wrong he had been. On the human border, Captain Beek Su-min commanded a patrol ship. Her job was simple. Watch the border. Intercept unauthorized crossings. Maintain security. It was quiet work. Most days, nothing happened. The galaxy had learned to respect human boundaries. No one wanted to provoke the species they had wronged so badly, but today was different. Her sensors detected a small vessel drifting near the border. Damaged, no power. Life signs fading. Scan results, Lieutenant. She asked. Tovani civilian transport. Engine failure. 3 life forms aboard. 2 adults, 1 child. They are dying, Captain. Su-min stared at the screen. The Tovani had voted to expel humanity. They had celebrated when the humans left. They had called humans parasites and threats and monsters. And now 3 of them were dying at her border. Captain? The lieutenant asked. Orders? Su-min thought about her grandmother, who had told her stories about Earth before the stars. She thought about her parents, who had taught her that strength without compassion was meaningless. She thought about every human value she had been raised to believe. Launch rescue shuttle, she ordered. Bring them aboard. Get them to medical immediately. The rescue took 20 minutes. The transport had been fleeing pirates. The adults were badly injured. The child, a young boy named Drix, was scared but unharmed. When Drix woke up in the human medical bay, he found Captain Beek sitting beside his bed. She was holding a cup of water for him. Where am I? He asked, his voice tiny and confused. You are safe. Your parents are being treated. They will be fine. Drix looked around at the clean walls, the humming machines, the soft lights. Then he looked at the human woman beside him. You are human, he said. Yes, but humans hate us. My teacher said so. He said humans want revenge for what the council did. Su-min set down the water cup. She looked at the small boy with his big eyes and innocent face. He had done nothing wrong. He was just a child who had been taught lies by frightened adults. Do you know why we saved you? She asked. Drix shook his head. Because kindness is not a trade, Su-min said gently. We do not help people because they helped us. We do not hurt people because they hurt us. We help because helping is right. That is who humans are. That is who we have always been. Drix thought about this for a long time. Then he asked, "Will you help the council too? Even though they were mean to you?" Sumin smiled sadly. "Maybe someday? When they are ready. When they truly understand what they did wrong. But for now, we wait. We build our own future. And we hope." On Earth, in a garden filled with flowers from a dozen different worlds, Ambassador Park Ji-ho worked quietly among his plants. He had retired after the vote. He no longer wanted to speak for humanity. He only wanted peace. A reporter found him there, asking for an interview. Park agreed, though he had nothing new to say. "Ambassador, do you think humanity will ever rejoin the galactic community?" Park considered the question while trimming a rosebush. "Perhaps. In time, what would the council need to do? Nothing dramatic. Nothing grand." Park straightened up and looked at the sky. "They would need to learn humility. They would need to accept that different does not mean dangerous. They would need to understand that kindness given freely is the rarest gift in the universe." He turned back to his roses. "We spent 200 years trying to teach them these things. They did not learn. Now they will have to learn on their own. And you believe they can?" Park smiled, and for a moment he looked like the diplomat he had once been. "I have to believe they can. Because if they cannot, then the galaxy is truly lost." He plucked the rose and handed it to the reporter. "Hope is the most human thing of all. We never stop hoping, even when hope seems foolish." Far away, at the edge of human space, a single ship crossed the border. It carried no weapons. It carried no diplomats. It carried only medicine, enough to help a plague-stricken world that had run out of options. No council resolution authorized the mission. No treaty required it. No payment was expected. The ship was captained by a woman who remembered what humanity stood for. A woman who believed that walls could become doors, if enough people were willing to walk through them. The galaxy watched the ship cross the border. Some cursed it for weakness. Some praised it for courage. Most simply watched in silence, trying to understand what it meant. On Station Nexus Prime, Elder Tasani received the report. He read it 3 times before setting it down. "They are better than us," he said to no one in particular. "After everything we did, they are still better than us." He looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were rebuilding. Somewhere out there, they were creating a new civilization, one that did not need the galaxy's approval or support. And somewhere out there, despite everything, they were still helping. Still giving. Still hoping. I closed his eyes and made a quiet promise. He would spend the rest of his life working toward reconciliation. He would teach the next generation to be worthy of humanity's forgiveness. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would learn to deserve a second chance. The stars kept turning. The universe kept expanding. And humanity, patient and kind and impossibly stubborn, kept waiting for the day when their former partners would finally understand. Some mistakes take generations to fix. But the first step was always the same: admitting you were wrong and hoping that was enough.